What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Watchtower podcast, the non-Jehovah's Witness Watchtower podcast. Glad you guys could be here. This is episode 110. Can you believe that we're at 110 right now? Who are you people? Seriously, who are you people? What are you doing here? No. Yeah, so welcome to the Watchtower podcast. This is what we do: is we sit atop the Watchtower and we take a look at all the signs and stuff going on, the events, news, and everything like that, and we await the Lord to come and snatch His church away. That's what we do. And like I said, glad you guys could be here. This is Who Are You People? We've got some stuff. It's kind of a multi-layered title. If you know me, I'm pretty... I tend to do some weird titles and stuff, but it's multi-layer. We're going to be talking about the WHO and their, not the band, the World Health Organization, the WHO, and the fact that they are now introducing a global treaty, not a treaty, passport. My bad, a global passport. And sorry guys. It's been nuts trying to get everything ready for this. I was getting everything going like up until the last minute. I kid you not. So I'm just trying to get everything rolling. But we're going to be talking about the WHO and their push for a passport. It's basically here. They hit a deal with the EU on doing a vitamin passport. So we're going to be talking about that. We also got some stuff as far as what is going on with social listening and misinformation and what they're deeming now as an infodemic. We're going to be talking a little bit about that as well. We got some stuff, updates as far as AI and UBI. We're going to be talking about that because we know AI is going to be taking the jobs of people, and so they're going to have to introduce a UBI, the ultimate control system, ultimate dependency, and all that stuff. We got some stuff as far as China Davos with the WEF and their China meeting, their summer Davos meeting. We're going to be talking about that. And then we've also got some stuff as far as young global leaders and Jordan Peterson's ARC, which he's deeming the anti-WEF group. We'll get into all that stuff. And so this theme is going to be passports and identity, as well as taking the masks off of some of these people and exposing the wolves and the sheep, and all that stuff. So who are these people? Who are you people? And all that stuff. But speaking of who are you people, I like to get you guys involved. So let's see what's going on with y'all. Let's see. I'm just going to pick a random spot. And we're going to start right here because this is pretty cool. Barbara R., smite thine like button. Smite it hard, and all of your dreams will come true. It's a joke, people. We don't do the name it and claim it around here. Let's see. We got Breeway Jam. Yeah, Jam. Hello from New Brunswick, Canada. Well, hello, eh? How you doing? Looks like we've got Peach here as well. Good to see you. We got Viking Loves Jesus. What's up, Vike? Glad to see you. Terry is here. I don't want a passport. Yeah, I don't either. We've got Kim here as well. Good to see you, Kim. Looks like Liz is here as well. Not of this world. Looks like we got Carly here as well. So blessed. Please come soon, Lord Jesus. Yes. Yes, please. Please come soon. Farrah is here. Good to see you, Farrah. We've got Kathleen in the house. Sophia, good to see you. Viking, you were already up there. What are you doing? Get out of here. Rhoda Fry is here. We got Jazz. We've got Jerry. We've got Laura. Looks like SJ is here, and just Vicky. Good to see you guys. If I don't get to you, I'm sorry. There's just too many. It's not that I don't like you. It's just there's too many people to get to. But glad y'all are here. Glad you guys could be here. And yeah, so before we get into what we have planned, we've got ourselves a tad bit of housekeeping.
Housekeeping?
No, thank you. Sleeping.
Housekeeping?
All right. So as far as housekeeping, if you guys can, usual spiel, like, share, and subscribe. If you guys can get this out to as many people as you can, liking, sharing, and subscribing does help with that. It is not about butts and seats. It is not about views, but it is about getting the warning out to people, getting people to Jesus and Jesus to people. That is why we do this. And so when you like, share, subscribe, that definitely does help get it out to those people. Also, if you guys can, follow me, Rumble, Odyssey, Telegram. Those are my backup channels, Rumble and Odyssey, for when I get kicked off YouTube. We just experienced that a couple weeks ago. A lot of people are asking where I went. Follow me on specifically Rumble and Telegram. Odyssey is there as a break in case of emergency type of thing. But yeah, Rumble and Odyssey specifically. I communicate with you guys on Telegram, post news stuff and all that. And then Rumble is my backup channel for when I get booted, because I have a feeling it's going to happen again soon. So yeah, follow me there. Also, on Friday at 6 p.m. Central, I will be guesting on Life Clips. Kim over there has invited me on. We're going to be talking about the NAR Church, music, my background, how I got in and out and through and all that jazz. So we're going to be talking about that on Friday. So make sure you join me over there. If you follow me on Telegram, I will post the link when the time comes. So yeah, head on over there. And I think that's it. All right, enough of that stuff. We're going to get into this. And since it is Tuesday, we do updates on natural events. I'm not a meteorologist. I'm not big on all that stuff, but I do follow the earthquakes and the volcanoes, mainly just to keep track of larger earthquakes and just kind of keep track of how many volcanoes are going off in which places, just to see trends and all that and see what's going on. So as far as earthquakes, not a whole lot in the large sector of earthquakes. I mean, Earth is still rocking, but they've been relatively small. But this past week, there's been a few with a 5.5 in Iquique, Chile. I think. I don't know. I don't speak French. Yeah, this is going to be fun. There's a Russian one up here. Prepare yourself. 6.3 in Auckland Islands, New Zealand. 5.8 in, oh my goodness, Miatakina, Myanmar. I have no idea. It's in Myanmar, though, guys. 5.5 in Ust-Konchik Stare, Russia. I actually managed to get through that one. That's crazy. 5.5 in Chivay, Peru. 5.9 in Las Corre, Somalia. And a 5.8 in the Bellany Islands that sits below the New Zealand region. So that's about all we got as far as earthquakes. Not a whole lot. Yeah, that 6.3 was pretty big, but kind of a calm week. As far as volcanoes, there are 42 volcanoes actively erupting this week, so that's no change. There's 42 going on last week as well. 7 in North America, 6 in South America, 2 in Europe, 3 in Antarctica, 4 in Africa, 13 in Asia, and 7 in Oceania. So not a whole lot going on there. As far as stuff, I think the fires in Canada is probably the biggest thing that's going on. I don't have it written down right now, but I know Canada is under some severe fire. So be praying for those in Canada on that. And also still pray for those in Guam they are still recovering from that massive super typhoon that came through and knocked them for a loop. So also be praying for those guys as well. So, all right, I think that's it as far as that goes. You guys ready to get into this? You guys ready to rock and roll? Okay, let's see here. I am all good. All right, let's go ahead and get into what is going on as far as passports and control and tracking and all that stuff. So we understand right now the biggest advances in the one world government is what's going on with the WHO, the World Health Organization. This is the biggest thing that we've been watching right now because we understand that there's a multi-pronged layer to this WHO deal that's been going on. We understand that there's the WHO Pandemic Treaty, which is going to take sovereignty away from pretty much every WHO member involved. Not pretty much, but it will, giving control over to Tedros over there. Then there's also the health regulations that's going to strip us individually of our rights and our dignity and all that, and basically remove all privacy and rights that we have. So there's multi-pronged there, but there's also the other aspect of the world police aspect, the military aspect, which really isn't getting talked about very much, and that is the UN Global Shocks system. So if a pandemic was to hit, a financial system was to hit, if something like that was to hit, they can send in the UN Blue Helmets to be a world police force in that aspect. So there's multi aspects to this UN WHO deal that's being done. So we're seeing this formation of this one world beast system. It's the 3 pillars. We've always talked about it. In case you don't remember, one world government, one world economy, and one world religion. Those are the 3 pillars that will raise up and boost and create the Antichrist beast system. And we're seeing some major stuff going on with the one world government, especially since the treaty and the amendments are supposed to be adopted May of next year. Because if you guys didn't realize, no country opposed them this year at the World Health Assembly. So, and one of the main goals with this one world government and to get this all going, one of the main goals is to create a global passport. Now, this is something that they haven't been hiding. They've been talking about it. They've been wanting to do it. We've just kind of been waiting because they've been talking about it since 2020, since this whole thing happens. It's happened. It's been out in the public, but we've been waiting to see how they're going to implement it. And so they want to create a global passport system to track and restrict people, all in the name of health safety. Of course, it's all about your health. It's all about your safety. We're going to take away your rights and we're going to restrict your movement, all for the sake of you. We're doing it for you. No, you're not. That's a big lie. But that's how they like to disguise this stuff. It's always about us and our health and our security and our safety and protecting us and all that stuff. No. But that's what they do. And so this is, again, no big surprise because last year at the B20 summit, I believe it was this guy's from Indonesia, he specifically talked about a digital passport to match the IHRs, the International Health Regulations, those amendments that they want to do. So if you haven't seen it, check this out.
So let's have a digital health certificate acknowledged by WHO. If you have been vaccinated or tested properly, then you can move around. So for the next pandemic, instead of stopping the movement of the people 100%, which clogged the economy globally, you can still provide some movement of the people. Indonesia has achieved, G20 country has agreed to have this digital certificate using WHO standard, and we will submit into the next World Health Assembly in Geneva as the revision to international health regulation. So hopefully for the next pandemic, we can still see some movement of the people, some movement of the goods, and movement of the economy.
You guys hear that? He was talking about they're going to add this into the World Health Assembly and connect it to the IHRs, which that's what just came to pass this May. They just did that. And so we've been sitting here going, okay, you were talking about how you're going to do it. Are you going to do it? Did they do it? Well, they did. The European Commission and the WHO, the WHO, have announced a digital health partnership. They have combined together, they have collaborated, and they have begun to do this starting this month. So starting this month, June, this month, the WHO will adopt the EU digital COOF verification or certification to establish a global system to enable mobility of citizens during the health crisis. So like you said, during the next pandemic, they're going to have these passports available that are going to basically say, if you don't play ball, if you don't play game, they're going to restrict your movement. So what we've been seeing, what we saw in Europe when it was going on in like 2021, where there was cops walking around asking people at like restaurants and stores to see their papers, the papers, please. Well, that's what they're doing for everybody. When this IHR amendments get adopted, this is going to be forced upon everybody. When you see what was going on in China in order to work, in order to get out of their 15-minute cities, that's right, China has their 15-minute cities already there, to do anything, you have to scan your passport to show that you're either tested or you got the vitamins and you had to do all this stuff and yada, yada, yada. Well, this is now going to be a part of this IHR that's going to be adopted, and they're working with the EU to get this done, and it starts now. It starts now. This is the foundation of the WHO Global Digital Health Certification Network, or the GDHCN. Them and their titles always got to be too long. And more, they announced that there's going to be more programs that will be a part of this. They'll implement it, a part of this network. We don't know what they are yet. We can take guesses, but I'm not going to sit here and speculate. We don't know for sure what they're going to be, but we do know this passport is going to be a part of it. So if we take a look at the covers of these things, we're not going to go through them. They're extremely long and drawn out, and we'd be here forever if we were to go through both of them. So I'm just going to show you the covers. You can find each one on their respective websites, the EU's and the WHO's website. You can check them out. But those are the covers. And these are the initiatives that they're basing this thing off of. And utilizing the EU Global Health Strategy, that's the one right there on the left, and the WHO Member States Global Strategy on Digital Health, that's the one there on the right. This initiative will follow the agreement that was signed by Commissioner Kyriakides and WHO Director General Tedros on December 2nd, 2022. So this was already being implemented. It was being worked on at least since December. Again, I'm not going to speculate and say, obviously we know it's going to be, they were working on this earlier, but just for the sake of making sure we're on pace here, that's when they assigned this. And when they signed it, that was to agree on this global health system. So the adoption will feature the EU's digital COOF certificate. It's digital. So here we go with a digital system, a digital passport, probably going to be connected to a digital ID. If this won't be turned into a digital ID, that's something to also think of that they could do pretty easily. But will feature the EU's digital COOF certificate, which allowed free movement within the borders for those who took the vitamin or had their tests came back clean and all that stuff. Like we just talked about, the police walking around, papers, please. It's like 1930s Germany, guys. That's what we're heading towards. The WHO, the WHO, will expand upon the EU system by creating the Global Health Certification Network to allow world. Check this word out, convergence. This is their words. This is from their website. This is from the EU's website. It says to allow world convergence. What have we been seeing? The convergence of prophecy, the convergence of all the things that Scripture told us was going to happen. We're all seeing it now. And so it's interesting when you see words like that, because that's a unique word. It really is. It's a unique word. And so this is what they said. So I'll start back over just because I had to make a little rabbit trail there. The WHO will expand upon the EU system by creating the Global Health Certification Network to allow world convergence of digital certificates, or AKA passports. They like to spruce it up, make it sound better, make it sound more enticing by saying certificates, but in actuality, it's a passport. And, I mean, if you want to get anywhere, you're going to need that thing. So it's a passport. And so if we just take a look at some of the quotes from both the Tedros and Commissioner Kyriakides, it's some interesting stuff they have to say. This is from the Commissioner, Stella Kyriakides. She is the Commissioner for Health and Food Safety for the EU. And she said the EU digital COOF certificate, got to be careful, has been an essential tool for safe travel during the COOF pandemic. In the emblematic of the European Health Union that can deliver tangible benefits to citizens. With this landmark partnership, with the WHO, we are scaling up EU innovation in digital health to deliver safe mobility for all citizens across the globe. Guys, this is straight up global control. This is straight up global dominion. They want full ability in order to restrict every single person's travel. That's what they're doing with this. There's no better partner than the WHO. There's no better partner than the WHO to advance the work we started in the EU and further develop global digital health solutions. Let's see what Tedros got to say here. Building on the EU's highly successful digital certification network, their digital passports, WHO aims to offer all WHO member states across an open source digital health tool, which is based on the principles of, here we go, equity, innovation, transparency, data protection, and privacy. You always got to have those fancy keywords, those code words everybody loves. New digital health products in development digital health products. We don't know what they are, but they know that they're there. In development, aim to help people everywhere receive quality health services quickly and effectively. Keep in mind, guys, this is, again, we're not talking future anymore like we've been talking. We're not talking future. We're talking now. This system is live now. It's here now. They've got it ready. And so they just need something to happen, if you catch my drift, in order to roll it out and get it out. It's coming. They've got the system. So all they have to do is pull the trigger on it. There's a lot of these things already out there right now where they've got their stuff ready. It's sitting there ready to go. They're just not ready to pull the trigger yet. Just like the financial stuff. That's ready. It's been ready. They're just not ready to pull the trigger yet. And so they're trying to get everything ready to go because they want to do a full demo all at the same time. It's just like if you're going to take down a building and you've got 4 charges on each system, you're not going to blow one and then wait to blow the other ones. No, you've got to do all 4 at the same time. So they're getting everything ready to go, and they've got this passport thing ready. So this will become, again, operational when they're ready to do it. It's already here. It's good to go. And it's also interesting that they just proposed a simulation exercise. We just talked about that on Saturday, a simulation exercise to make sure that the treaty and the amendments are ready to go and be introduced. So there's some interesting stuff going on as far as this goes, but everybody's been asking, when's this passport coming? Well, it's here. And they did it silently. I bet you didn't hear that on the mainstream news or anything like that. They just quietly pushed this through. Didn't tell anybody. They put it on their website, but that's about it. And it's here. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So we've got that. We've got the partnership with the EU and the WHO. And it's also interesting it's the EU too, because we know that there's going to be the revived Roman Empire that's going to be popping up too. And they're using that system. That's something to think of as well on that. But we've got that. We've got the passport coming through. But then we've also got the fact of they're working on the infodemic as well. So along with that collaboration that they've got going on, and it's being about the digital passports, the WHO is bringing about the PRET initiative. PRET stands for Preparedness and Resilience for Emerging Threats. So again, we're not going to dig through this whole thing. It's long, drawn out, a whole bunch of stuff that we don't need to talk about. But there's the cover of it. You can find it on their website. But here it is. And so while it's supposed to be about respiratory pandemics, as you can see right there on the top, there's a lot of focus on equality, gender, and misinformation on this thing. This is their infodemic. We know this is something that they've been wanting to do, control the narrative, quiet those who ask questions, quiet those who bring about truth, and do all that stuff. And it's a heavy topic in this document that's supposed to be about respiratory pandemics. Interesting. In terms of misinformation, the PRET lines up perfectly with trying to censor any information that goes against their narrative. Again, this is no shock to us. We've been seeing bans and censors and removals, and anybody who's doing anything with truth and exposing things, they've been hitting us. But then there's also the fact of they're sending out their own narrative, their own propaganda to all this stuff. Just check this out. This is a video that comes from the FDA. It's about misinformation and stuff, but check out the subject that it specifically chooses to talk about. This is the FDA now. Check out the subject that they specifically point out, and what have we been hearing lately?
Are you prepared? The internet is going down later this week. It's going to be crazy. Find out more below.
The internet is
Going down later this week.
It's going to be crazy.
The real truth the government refuses to tell you. Previous account banned for sharing the truth. Wait a minute. This is misinformation. You may be spreading misinformation unintentionally. Confirm the credibility of a source before contributing to the conversation. To see how FDA is addressing misinformation, check out our Rumor Control webpage.
I mean, you guys want to talk about just propaganda. I mean, you got the cute Italian music going on behind the thing and stuff, and they're trying to do all these. It's just, but if you notice, they specifically talk about the internet is going to go down. The internet's going down. What have we been hearing a lot lately? we've been hearing a lot about the internet going down. We've been hearing that a lot. It's just interesting that that's what they would choose on that. But that's just straight up propaganda, basically saying if you're sharing anything that doesn't fit with our rumor control website, then it's misinformation. That's what they're saying. It's absolute garbage, and how anybody can follow that is just mind blowing. But it's part of the game, and people do follow it. People do believe it. It's crazy. In the pandemic treaty, it speaks on social listening. It specifically says social listening, which means surveillance upon communication channels to create counter information and to censor. So a lot of the time, it's not just banning people, it's not just censoring people, but it's learning what people are talking about. It's about learning what people are throwing out there, what type of information that they're giving, so they can collect data on that, on how to create their own counter information on top of it. So this is a big information war. This is a big psychological war where they're not going to ban everybody yet. They're not banning everybody yet, but they're gathering information on what truth tellers are talking about and putting out there, and then they're gathering that information and creating their own counter information as well. So if we head to the pandemic treaty, because that's where this word comes from, Article 18, Section B, it specifically says conduct regular community outreach, social listening, and periodic analysis and consultations with civil society organizations and media outlets, there's your social media, to identify the prevalence and profiles of misinformation. So they're gathering information, which contribute to design communications and messaging strategies for the public to counteract misinformation. Like we're just talking about, it's about how do we gather information? What are they talking about so we can counter it? Counteract misinformation, disinformation, and false news, thereby strengthening, there we go, public trust and promoting adherence to public health and social measures. So this is about the information war. Gathering information, it's not all just ban everybody, censor everybody, no, but it's about collecting information so they can continue to do what they do. You know how much data and information that these guys have on us? Like I said, I'm not going to get into it, but you just talk about the digital twins and they know more about us than we know about ourselves. It's absolutely nuts. But that comes from the pandemic treaty. That's what they want to do. They want to open that channel for social listening. And so if we get back to the PRET, if we get back to that document, it even speaks on an infodemic and tools using none other than AI to social listen. So if we take a look at the PRET, we talk about this. It's pretty interesting. This is why up at the top, this is why the WHO and the partners developed the approach of infodemic management, which encompasses risk communication and community engagement. So there we go with the community engagement again. We're back to that, adding additional tools and approaches to manage it more efficiently in the 21st century. Now, if we take a look at this, we see point 1, listen to concerns, communicate risks, and translate science, promote resilience to potentially harmful elements of the infodemic, such as misinformation, disinformation, engage and empower communities. But right here, new tools and approaches for social listening, here we go with the social listening, matching up with the pandemic treaty, have been developed using new technologies such as artificial intelligence to listen to population concerns on social media. That's the platform EARS that was developed by the WHO. AI. It's crazy. It's crazy, guys. If you want to read more about it, you can go and check it out, but I just wanted to point that out specifically. AI to social listen and to control the narrative. Gather information to control the narrative. It's right there. It's all interconnected. That's what they want to do. We know the eventual just ban everybody is coming, but for right now, they're trying to gather more information. They're trying to gather data. So with all this, and we've talked about this before, but this is the progression of the nudge units. I'm not sure how many people have heard of the nudge units before, but nudge units have been developed globally to manipulate social media and news outlets and to send subtle mental nudges to people to take the vitamin or to accept the narrative that they're giving. So this isn't the blatant stuff that we see in media where you just look at it and you're just sitting there knowing that they're lying through their teeth. This is the manipulation of like social media, whether it's manipulating your feed and the advertisements that you see, or if you search for specific things, they're going to show you certain web pages first. They do it in a subtle way where subconsciously your mind is taking it. This is the 5th generation warfare. This is the psychological warfare. It's a big thing that's being done now. A lot of people like to say, hey, you're crazy, but no, this is actually what's going on. And there are nudge units all over the world. They were developed during this 2020 event. And we talked specifically about the UK one because the UK one's really getting a lot of what's the word? Display. That's not the word I was thinking of, but it's getting talked about a lot. We'll just say that. And so this is part of their nudge unit. And like I was talking about, this is about manipulation and whatnot. And so I'm sure a lot of you have seen this before. This came out about 2 weeks ago. I think about 2 weeks ago. But this is from the BBC, and this is about, they always use the term verify, but this is specifically about infiltrating and finding out this information. This is doing it without AI for the most part. This is about people doing it, but they're doing it in deceptive ways. So check this out. This is from the BBC called BBC Verify.
Welcome to BBC Verify. Like you said, we are a team of investigative journalists here at the BBC. We are also a new brand, and we are a physical location above the newsroom in London. And the point of the team, as you said, is to verify video, to fact check, to counter disinformation, and to analyse really complex stories so we can get to the truth of what's going on. Why does this matter? Well, mistruths can cause really serious harm to society and to the people in them. And so we want to show you our workings and really help you understand how we get to the bottom of what's happening. And I'm going to give you a bit of a flavour of the kind of work that the team are doing. So we're able to look at maps to geolocate specific situations, stuff that's going on. This is just a map of central London where we are now. And this is New Broadcasting House, where I'm speaking to you from. And it's not so important perhaps for the centre of London, but it is when we're analysing war zones or what's happening in hard to reach places. And there's a story on the BBC website today. It's looking at Russian fortifications on the front lines in Ukraine, and you can read more about it there. And there are other ways that we also are able to interrogate what's going on, including on social media. I have some undercover accounts that I've set up for the BBC's Americast podcast, and we use these kinds of undercover accounts, and these are the characters that the accounts belong to be able to really understand polarization online and how what's happening on our social media feeds and what we're being recommended and pushed to us can affect all of us. And they don't offer us a totally exhaustive insight into what's going on, but they can help us understand just how social media works. And then there's also investigating other mistruths and the real world harm they can cause. At the moment, I'm investigating the UK's conspiracy theory movement. I'm trying to understand more about how it's evolved and intensified since the pandemic here in the UK. I'm looking at the alternative media that finds itself at the heart of this movement, and a conspiracy theory newspaper that's a part of that as well. I'm looking at the way that alternative media is funded. I'm looking at its impact on local communities. I'm looking at its connections with far-right figures and also its foreign links. That's for a podcast series that will be coming out in June. It's called Mariana in Conspiracy Land, and it will be available on BBC Sounds, Radio 4, asking that question, could January the 6th or a German coup attempt like we saw there ever happen here in the UK? So there's a real range of journalism BBC Verify will be doing, and you'll be able to see it online, on iPlayer, across BBC News, on your televisions and radio, so do look out for it.
Wide range of journalism. That's funny. Yeah, so you could see they're doing it in deceptive way. They want to get rid of all of the ability to be anonymous online. They want to get rid of that, but yet they're going to go ahead and create false accounts in order to infiltrate and to quote unquote investigate what is going on social media. And then of course she specifically talked about conspiracy theories and how they're funded and who's behind them and all this stuff. They're breaking everything down, trying to social listen, try and infiltrate, try and get information that they can do to do nudge warfare, nudge psychological warfare. And this is a part of it. And the UK has been heavy on it. They're now just out there blatantly telling people what they're doing as far as this stuff goes. You know, they've got other stuff that they're not telling us that they're doing. But this is about controlling the narrative. This is the information war that they want to do. And of course, we know at the heart of the information war, we know at the heart of the nudge units, is Google and YouTube. They have been at the front of this for a long time. So if we take a look, partnership was formed between the Google and the WHO. No surprise, right? But not only did Google become a nudge unit and censorship authority, but they also handed the WHO $320 million in advertising and search grants to push anything from the coof to monkeypox to climate. Now, what is that? Well, you have to pay to get higher search results. You have to pay to get advertising spots. You have to do all that stuff. And Google basically just gave grants to the WHO, $320 million worth, to just have the WHO flood whatever they want on Google. And it's anything from the coof, monkeypox, climate, to Ebola, to anything else that they want to do. And so far, Google has granted the WHO an additional $50 million in ad grants for this year, for 2023. So they're continuing to push this through. They're continuing to do this. So there is a war on the mind of people. There is a war of information. And this is about not only gathering data, not only manipulating people, but it's also to build up these systems, like their passport systems and their AI systems and all of these things. It's order to build those things up. They need all of this data, and they need to be able to play the game this way until they pull the plug. Obviously, they're still getting some stuff ready. But this is a part of creating this one world government. This is a part of creating the full control of every aspect of somebody's life. And they're coming up with new ways of doing it. I'll be honest. Some of the stuff that I've seen, that I've come across, never even crossed my mind. It never even crossed my mind. It was just here all of a sudden. And I mean, you got to give them credit. I mean, it's evil, but it is genius how they're doing this. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm just, the more I see about this stuff, the more I look at it, the more I'm so thankful that we're not going to be here for that. Honestly, that's why that's why we need to make sure that we keep our focus on the Lord. We need to keep our focus on what He wants us to do. Just keep our nose to the grindstone and keep doing it, and not panic about this stuff. We need to watch for it. We need to learn about it. We need to see what's going on, because that's what we're called to do, to look for the signs. But we need to make sure that we're not panicking about it. We're not worrying about it. We're not being fearful of it. Don't be fear, or don't have fear. So it's important that we understand that, because I'll tell you what, when you look at the fact of they want to run a simulation thing, and then they've also got their passport system ready to go, that could freak a lot of people out. But we got to make sure that we understand, that we know, that we encourage each other with the fact that we're not going to be here for this. We're seeing the beginnings of it. We may see some aspect of it, but we're not going to be here when this thing, the whole thing, goes live. And so that's very important. That's our blessed hope. He tells us that. So that's important to understand. Now, we talked about one world government, but let's switch it over to the one world economy, because that's also a part of control. That's also a way of maintaining full surveillance as well as control of people, is through the money and how they're going to use it. And I've always talked about UBI. UBI is the ultimate dependency system, and it's the ultimate way to keep people dependent upon the government, to not have any independence. There we go. And it's a way for them to keep track of all your money. And we know that's going to be going to play a part. Scripture tells us, mark of the beast, you won't be able to buy or sell without it. We're getting to that point. And we're seeing the development of it. Digital. It's always digital. They want digital ID, digital money, digital passport, all of it. And we're getting there. And so to get people on UBI, one of the biggest tools, not the only one, but one of the biggest tools is through AI. You create an AI system that can take over the jobs of the people, and there's no more jobs for people to use. They have to get put on AI, ultimately surrendering their independence that way. So, talking about this, and if we continue on with the theme of AI, we're being told what is coming through the IMF, their International Monetary Fund. The first deputy managing director, Geeta Gopinath, Apple, whatever, Geeta Gopinath, saying AI will cause substantial disruptions to the job market. So they're telling us. Remember, they always tell us. In some way or another, they always tell us what they're going to do. And so we've got the IMF here. Wow. Why can't I say that? IMF, there we go, saying that AI will cause disruptions in the job market. So we've talked about both Musk and Altman, Elon Musk, Sam Altman. They've both talked about how a UBI system is going to be needed because the AI system is going to take over and do a better job at what the humans are doing. They've talked about this, and we've even got Sam Altman with his WorldCoin system where he says this system can be used for a UBI system. So these tech guys who are involved with the AI stuff, they've been telling us what is coming, what's going to happen. They're the ones that have started this, of course. So problem, reaction, solution. They started it. They knew it was going to be a problem, so they were working on a solution. It's amazing how that works. It's basically saying, I'm going to start a fire on your house, and then I'm going to sell you a fire extinguisher for $5,000. That's what they're creating at this. And so Gopinath here has said that generative AI programs will disrupt job markets, and that governments and institutions need to prepare for this coming disruption. Oh, they're preparing, all right. She also spoke on governments and the need for, this is interesting, social safety nets for workers affected by AI adoption. Social safety nets. That sure sounds like lingo for UBI, in my opinion, or at least a payment system, a monetary payment system for job loss, something like that, which that would still technically be UBI. You know what I mean. But it just sure sounds like social safety nets is going to be basically saying we need to get a UBI system introduced quickly before things start getting out of hand. And so this is coming from the IMF. She's telling us what's coming. She's telling us what's going on. She's telling us the solution. Problem, reaction, solution. She's telling us all in one simple interview. And so this is where we're at now. I've talked about it a lot, but the UBI is coming. And they've been testing it for a long time, and they continue to test it. And the UK is also doing another test as well. So with the UBI, we're seeing 30 people in England that will be paid €1,600 a month with no obligation to work. So this is going to be a trial run, a test run. This is not the first one that they've done. They've done other ones, but this is happening in England. There's other countries. There's other cities that are doing it. I know there's some cities in the United States that are doing it. There's some in Australia, I think, that are doing it. Canada, I think I read something how they're testing it in some like cities, individual cities, not provinces, but individual cities. So these people have been testing it, but the big one was in 2020 when they were passing out the stimulus checks, when they were doing what I call helicopter money. They're just dropping money into people's accounts because they weren't able to work. They weren't able to do anything. That was a giant test for UBI. And it wasn't just the United States. It was countries everywhere. They were doing the same thing. They were just dropping money into people's accounts. And it's a giant test for UBI. 2020 was a giant test for a lot of things. Yeah, for a lot of things. We can sit here and go down a list of like 10 or 15. I'm sure there's more. Those are just the ones I can think of off the top of my head. But UBI was one of them. And so with this program in England, this test run that they're doing, this is under the idea of simplifying welfare and tackling poverty. This comes from the research group Autonomy. There we go. I can't read my own handwriting. Research group Autonomy, which is, I think that's kind of interesting because autonomy, when you look up the definition of it, It's about self-governance. It's about independence, but yet they're the ones that came up with the ultimate dependence system. That's kind of interesting how that worked. It's mind games, guys. It's mind games. They don't just come up with a name like that for no reason. Their goal is to make the case for a national basic income. So their goal with this is to basically say, hey, it works. We need to roll it out nationally. We just need to do it big time. The trial is set to last at least 2 years, and the payments would come from, this is interesting, private sources. Private sources. Who are these private sources? Makes you wonder, right? And the payments, of course, would be taxed. So you wouldn't just get 1,600 euro dropped into your account. No, it'll be taxed. So you won't get the whole 1,600. Of course, if they're going to give you money, they got to tax the money that they just gave you. That's just how it works. So, yeah, guys, I'll tell you what. So they're rolling out this UBI system. I mean, we're covering a lot of control here. The passports on top of the UBI. I mean, you're starting to see these things form and take shape. Not to mention the passport's already here. So it's not just watching it develop. No, you're watching it actually here, just waiting for it to go live. I don't know about you guys, but when I see things like that, I get excited. I get excited because we're not going to be here. We're so close. Seriously, am I the only one? Because when I see things like that, we're so close to being out of here. I mean, we're watching scripture just jump off the page. The technology that is in scripture is here. It's actually here. Not to mention, this is just the stuff that we're seeing. We know the stuff that we're not. They have technology that's at least 10, 15 years ahead of what we are seeing. And so it's here. The stuff in Revelation is here, and we're seeing it come to life. We're seeing it form. And so I don't know about you guys, but I get all giddy. I get all excited. And I mean, the world, to those who don't have Jesus, when they see me specifically, I won't generalize it, but when they see me get excited about this stuff, they call me nuts. They call me crazy. They call me somebody who's just seeking out doom and loves to see things that, no, I don't love to see things perish and whatnot, but at the same time, I've got a book, a living book, that tells me not only what happened, but what will happen. And when you see the what will happen start to happen, I get excited. I don't know about you guys, but I get excited when I see that. So be encouraged by this stuff. Be encouraged. Don't get down. Don't worry if somebody says, oh, it's doom and gloom, it's fear-mongering and all this stuff. Forget that. Be encouraged, because that's what Scripture tells us to do. Who cares what they think? The only person that matters about their opinion and what they think is Christ. And he tells us, when you see these things come to happen, when you see these things come to pass, look up, for my return is near. And so that's why it's important that we focus on that. So I don't know about you guys, but when I see this stuff, I get excited because we're that close. We're that close. And so when we've got the UBI coming in, one of the easiest ways to introduce a UBI is through a CBDC. Now, a CBDC is not necessary for UBI. We just saw, like I said, we were talking about 2020. We see what they're doing now. It's not necessary, but it certainly makes it a whole lot easier with a CBI, especially since it'll make it a whole lot easier not only to distribute, but also to track and to tax and do all that stuff. So it definitely makes it easier. So we've got something coming up with CBDC here. And in just a few weeks, it is going to be the Summer Davos, or what they call the annual meeting of the new champions, right here. This is the WEF's Summer Davos, the annual meeting of the new champions. And as you can see, it will be in China. It will be in China. And so when we look at this thing, there's not a whole lot of information on there yet. It's coming up in 20 days, but we're getting close. This is the global economy. This is why we're talking about the economy here. Global economy is at a pivotal moment of transformation. Yeah, we know what you're going to transform this thing into. Established business and industry models have not only been challenged by the COOF pandemic, but are now being tested by a more competitive geopolitical and geonomic environment. Yeah. So again, there's not a whole lot here. This is the 14th annual, so they've been doing this for over a decade in China. This is just more confirmation. You can see right there, the meeting will gather over 1,500 global leaders from business, government, and society, international organizations, as well as from among investors or innovators and academics at a crucial time for global economy recovery. Yeah, so this is just more confirmation. I mean, you're talking about the WEF Davos in China for 14 years, over a decade. This is just more confirmation of how they are working together. I know I might be beating a dead horse, but I'm going to continue to beat that horse. I apologize if you own horses. But the fact is just China and the WEF are working hand in hand on this global thing. And this is what I keep talking about when you look at China and you look at Russia, because we know Russia is heavily involved with the internet and networking and technology stuff. We know they're heavily involved with that stuff with the WEF. And then you look at China and they're heavily involved with the economic and policy stuff. It just shows that those two are working in tandem with the WEF. Don't fall into the lie, the narrative that those two are looking to free themselves from the elites. No, they're working with the elites, and they have to drag us down to accomplish it. And so when we see things like the WEF and the China Davos and everything like that, it's more confirmation of what we're seeing. So this is the WEF Davos. It's CCP sponsored, and it's been going on for over a decade now. While the WEF has only announced one topic, like I said, there's not much information on there right now. They announced one topic, which is cybersecurity and AI, the challenges and opportunities. We see from that introduction, as well as those who are co-chairing this event, that it's going to be heavily done in economy, CBDC, and money. So we're going to take a look at some of the people involved. You might not recognize any of the faces or names. That's okay. I did some looking of my own, and I will introduce you to a few of them. So first up on the list, you can see her at the top there. Let's see here. Nazi Okajo Iwala, that's the best I can do, I'm sorry, is the Director General of the World Trade Organization. There's one to pay attention to if you guys don't know about them. The World Trade Organization runs in tandem with the UN, the IMF, and the World Bank. The World Trade Organization has been a main pusher and advocate for CBDCs. That's something that's been on their agenda the whole time. It's something that they've been pushing for a very long time. And so she's going to be one of the chairs at this event. Then next to her, oh boy, Nonkululeko Nyambezi. That's some Canadian if I've ever seen it before. Is chairman of South Africa's Standard Bank, one of the largest in South Africa, and has been an advocate for the CBDCs. She's been pushing it heavily to introduce those things. Then, if we take a jaunt just below her, you'll see Eric Jing. He is the leader of the Ant Group, who owns Alipay, or Alipay. If you don't know that, you might know the name Jack Ma a little bit better. Jack Ma, who founded Alibaba, he just got busted for some serious stuff not too long ago. He created Alipay, or Alipay, and the Ant Group took over for that. Why is this significant? Alipay became the first company to integrate China's digital yuan CBDC into its platform. So this is basically they control the platform that basically holds the digital yuan on it. So that's kind of significant. So you got 3 players there for CBDC. That's pretty big. Now, if we take a look at this one, now this one is interesting. There's Jeremy Allaire. Yeah, Jeremy Allaire, who is the leader of the BlackRock-backed Circle Group. Circle Group. This one's interesting. Circle manages the USDC, which is the United States digital coin, which is a digital stable coin, which is a digital version of the dollar and is continually pitched as the ideal US CBDC. If you don't know what I'm getting at there, this is the coin that continues to get pushed as being they want it to be the US CBDC. Now we've got FedNow coming in July, which is not a CBDC, but this USDC can run on it. That's something to keep in mind. I'm not predicting anything. I'm just saying it's something to keep in mind. So let's take a look at this Circle Group, because I wanted to see more about this. This is on their front page. Your business has evolved, now money has too. It's talking about global financial system begins with building a new kind of digital currency. USDC delivers all that. If you take a look at the global trusted global leaders that are connected to this thing, BlackRock, Coinbase, MasterCard, Visa, WorldPay. I mean, you got a lot there. MoneyGram. They're connected to a lot of this stuff. Now, if we keep it going, found this interesting. Right here, USDC is always redeemable 1-for-1 with the US dollar. So they've created this coin that literally goes 1-for-1 with the paper, the fiat money. So that's interesting. USDC reserves are held in the management and custody of leading U.S. financial institutions, including BlackRock and BNY Mellon. So there's BlackRock. The only thing that sketches me out, and I'm sure they can come up with, I'm not a financial guy, I'm not a financial guru. I know some stuff, but the only thing that sketches me out on this actually being that digital coin is the fact that it's 1-for-1 with the fiat dollar. And if they're going to crash the fiat dollar, that would probably crash that coin too. So that's the one thing that kind of makes me back away and go, yeah, I'm not sure, but they can figure something out if they want to. But still, I think it's something to pay attention to, especially since BlackRock is involved with it. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. So keep an eye on that. Circle USDC. That's definitely something to keep in mind. But he is going to be involved with this Davos meeting as well. So, and so when I was looking, because whenever I get onto the website, I always like to just dart around and just take a look at what they got going on. And so since this is titled, Who Are You People? We're going to take a look at some people. And so what I did is I took a jaunt over to the Young Global Leaders page, and I realized that they announced their graduate class for 2023. Now, there's not a lot of like names that you would recognize. I'll say that. There's a lot of people in high positions that definitely have pull. That's for sure. We're not going to go through all them, but there was two that specifically stood out to me because of the positions that they're in. So we're going to talk about a couple of them. So yeah, who are you people? And because I was there, I checked it out. And first up on the list that I found that was interesting is this dude, Justin Bibb, mayor of the city of Cleveland. I don't know why, but have you guys ever seen Back to the Future when Marty walks into the diner and there's the dude who's sweeping the floor and he says, you should be mayor? He just reminds me of that guy. He just looks like him. I don't know. If it's just me, then it's just me. But anyways, Justin Bibb, he's been involved with a lot of politics. He actually comes out of the Obama camp. He was involved with that, not like a high position, but he was a part of the campaign and all that stuff. But why I want to point him out is the city of Cleveland. So this dude's a young global leader. He just graduated this year. He's very young. He's like late 30s, I think. So he's super young. And he's the mayor of Cleveland. Now, why am I pointing this out? Because Cleveland, if you don't know, is one of the main leaders in being a smart city. They want to bring in the smart city. They were selected to be one of the first in America with their Smart City Accelerator program. But it's not just the smart city as well. You can't have just the smart city. No, you got to have the 15-minute city as well. So this comes from December of 2022, so not too long ago. Inside Cleveland's plan to become a 15-minute city. And if we take a look a little bit further, We're working towards being the first city in North America to implement a 15-minute city planning framework where people, not developers, but people, are at the center of urban revitalization because regardless of where you live, you have access to a good grocery store, vibrant parks, and a job you can get to, Bibb said in his first State of the City speech in April. Remember when Uncle Klaus, eat the bugs, said that they penetrate all the offices? That includes your mayor office as well. And so we've got a young global leader who is leading the takeover of Cleveland. Guys, there's no such thing as coincidence. I'm telling you, there's no such thing as coincidence. So we've got that. Then I found another one. Like I said, there's a bunch of people in there, but two stood out to me. This one stood out to me just because of June, where we're in the time that we're in right now. Maureen Trantham. She's Senior Vice President, Head of Strategy and Social Impact. There's your social justice. And philanthropy, I can't say that word, operations. Sesame Workshop. Sesame Street. I don't know about you guys, but Sesame Street is no longer a kid show. It hasn't been for a long time. And no surprise that somebody who's head of social impact for Sesame Street is, well, this is from Sesame Street's Twitter account for Pride. So, as we know, the equality, alphabet, feminism, woke, BLM, all that stuff is a part of their social development goals. It is something that they do push, and all of that. And so you're seeing the work of these young global leaders and how they're affecting the lifestyles of everybody. So, guys, stop watching Sesame Street. Seriously, they've been corrupt for so long. You just can't have anything innocent anymore. There's no such thing as innocence anymore. And I feel so bad for kids who can't just grow up being kids because of all this stuff. And it's because of people like that. So I did a little digging on that, found some interesting stuff. I recommend, guys, go in there and check it out. Go to the Young Global Leaders website. Check out all the people who graduated. Check it out from your country. I know there's a member of Canadian Parliament that was in there as well. There's some European guys as well that have some serious corporate positions and stuff. Just go check it out. There's a lot there. Kind of rounding this out, we've got one last thing to talk about here. Rounding this out is, again, who are you people? I like to unmask people because there's a lot of people when you unmask them, you find somebody completely different. But then there's some people when you unmask them, you find out that they're not wearing a mask at all. And so I like to find out who is real, who is not. And that goes along with the fact that I keep talking about this political game. I keep talking about don't get wrapped up in the political game. That includes not only getting distracted by people who have absolutely no pull, absolutely no power. I was talking about this when I was on VinDog earlier. I'll just kind of bring it up. When I'm going through my news feed and my news wire and checking things out and everything like that, when Biden tripped and he fell over on the stage, for at least a day and a half, no joke, at least a day and a half, my entire news wire was filled with nothing but that. And that's what I'm talking about. That's on purpose because it's filled with not only the mainstream media that's pushing it, but it's also filled with people who have the conservative values where that's what they want to push because that's what they've been told to push. He's unqualified. He's unfit for the position of president. He's an evil guy, which none of that's wrong. It's not wrong. I'm not saying that that's wrong. But they want you so focused on that you get distracted. You know how much stuff that they can get done in a day and a half? But because everybody was so focused on somebody tripping, whatever happened in that day and a half, nobody knows. Because everybody was so focused on that. That's the game. Now, I'm not saying they told Biden, hey, trip right here. We got to do something. I'm not that stupid. So don't even think that. But never let a good crisis go to waste. And in the case of Biden tripping, that would be a crisis for them to be able to get something across. And so don't get wrapped up in the game and the fact of getting so angry and focused on making fun of people you don't like that are evil But it's also the fact of don't get caught up in the lies and the theater of people that you are told to like as well. That's one of the big ones. Just like with Trump, he's in the club. So many people got blinded by him because he would say things, but his behind the scenes work, actually he was somebody that was so worshipped that he could say whatever he wanted and people still would defend the guy. They're still defending the guy. But that's what I'm talking about is find out what these people actually are. Find out who these people actually are, because words lie. They lie. People lie. They can say whatever they want. Tulsi Gabbard's another one. She's a young global leader, heavy Democrat and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden did a 180. Now she's completely anti-WEF. She's full on conservative. She's all this stuff. And everybody on the right didn't even question it. It's like, oh, she's now saying things that we agree with, so she's obviously on our side. You sure about that? You sure about that? Elon Musk is another one. These people, you got to be careful. And so that's why I talk about this all the time, about the political game. And so I found something quite interesting. And it involves deception everywhere. And keep in mind, when I talk about this stuff, I'm not just talking about government and politicians. I'm also talking about corporate people. I'm talking about churches and pastors. I'm talking about doctors. I'm talking about a lot of people. There's a lot of fake people wearing masks out there. There's a lot of controlled opposition out there. So don't be won over by their speech. They lie. But one of the people that I've discussed about this is Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson is not who you think he is. A lot of people like to say, well, he talked about God that one time on Joe Rogan's podcast, so he's a Christian. No, he's actually a Gnostic. Jordan Peterson is a Gnostic. He's not Christian. Just because somebody says God and says, oh, I think there is a God, that doesn't make them Christian. He's actually a Gnostic. And so I've talked about Jordan Peterson before. A lot of the stuff he says, if you can get through the fact that of how wordy he is, because he just likes to ramble, it sounds good to conservatives. A lot of the stuff he says sounds good. But we're going to take a look. So something to keep in mind with Jordan Peterson is he just created a group called the Alliance for Responsible Citizenship, or ARC, A-R-C, and he deems it the anti-WEF group. He deems this the counterweight to the WEF's Davos group, but is it really? First thing I noticed right off the bat is it's just like the WEF. You have to be invited. You have to have a certain mindset. You have to believe certain things in order to be a part of it. So they're basically just creating another exclusive club. That's never a good sign. But if we go to their website and we take a look at their description page under the Alliance section, we see right here, with this as the backdrop, ARC has drawn together a unique alliance from around the world covering politics, business, the arts, and culture. Our ambition is to draw on our moral, cultural, economic, and spiritual foundations to imagine a future where empowered citizens take responsibility for bringing flourishing and prosperity to their homes, neighborhoods, and all sectors of society and their nations. Moral, cultural, economic, and this is the big one, spiritual foundations. Not Christian foundations. No, spiritual. Again, he's Gnostic, guys. Spiritual. It's something to keep in mind. So, yeah, there's some interesting stuff. So we're going to kind of go through. We're going to go through their board, because they've got a board of advisors. Their advisory board. That's the word I was looking for. So before we get there, though, first off, Peterson, we've already talked a little bit about him, but he is a member of the CAA. We've talked about this, the Creative Artists Agency. That is the Hollywood agency that's connected to the CIA. So we've already talked about that, and he's also been very outspoken about removing all, I can't say this word, anonymity online. I don't know why I wrote that down. I knew I couldn't say it. But he's been very outspoken about that stuff, and we know he's a part of the CAA, so that's never good. But we also got to take a look at his advisory board. Who has he surrounded himself with? So let's go through this. I'm just going to point out a few. We're not going to go through everybody, because some of these people, I don't know who they are. I did a quick search on most of them, and I couldn't yeah, I'm just going to point out a few of them. I want to start with this Agu Irukwu guy. This is the senior pastor of Jesus House for All Nations. Now, I get warning flags right off the bat when I see all nations. That's usually a sign of universalism. When you got Jesus House for All Nations, it's just, we know the construction of the temple, the third temple. They're talking about how it's going to be the worship temple for all nations. You're talking about the one world religion. You're talking about universalism because it's going to be the place where the beast is going to sit and everybody will go and worship him. So when I see all nations, I get warning flags. And so if you go to their website, you'll actually find no belief statement on their website, which confirms my warnings. There's no belief system for the Jesus House for All Nations. So that's concerning. There's your spiritual aspect right there. So just wanted to point that out. You don't have Christian values in there. You've got universalism getting pushed in that. So if we keep going down the list, we'll find this Bjorn Lomborg. He was a contributor to the WEF agenda for 4 years. You can see he doesn't have his description there anymore. Maybe he pulled out, I don't know, but I went through under the most popular section is all his articles, and it goes back for 4 years. So he was connected. Don't know if he still is connected right now, but that's never a good sign. That's just never a good sign. Then if we keep going, we'll find Dan Crenshaw. Dan Crenshaw. Yeah, we've got another snake in the grass here with Crenshaw, who is financially backed by the BlackRock companies. A lot of oil companies owned by BlackRock donate and support this dude. And he's also a graduate of the WEF's Young Global Leader group from the class of 2019, if you guys don't know. I had to use the Wayback Machine to grab this, but yeah, he's from 2019. Dan Crenshaw, you can see him right there. So yeah, he's also on the board for this arc. So we've got one world religion dude, universalism religion dude. We've got some dude who was connected to the WEF, which we don't know if he still is or not. Then we've got Dan Crenshaw, which we know the stuff that he does, he is still connected to the WEF. That's without a doubt. Then we've got this guy, Niall Ferguson. Might not recognize the name or anything like that, but this dude is huge on the WEF. This dude has been there for a long time. He is a globalist historian. That's one of his big things. If you want to look at some of his books, he writes a lot of stuff. I think it's on this list. I wasn't planning on saying it. It's, where is it at? I don't see it. Okay, I don't want to take forever to look. Oh, right there. The Pity of War, the House of Rothschild, Empire, Civilization, and Kissinger stuff. So he's a globalist historian. He's been one of the main dudes on the WEF, a mainstay there for a very long time. And so he's on the arc as well. So if this is supposed to be anti-WEF, that's sure a lot of WEF. I'm just saying. So yeah. Where am I? Get me back on. There we go. So we're seeing a theme here. So they're supposed to be anti-WEF, but yet he's still, a lot of the people on the board are still on the WEF. So there's also a couple people I'm not going to show. There's a couple more to the list. Tony Abbott and John Howard are on the list. You may not recognize them, but they've also been speakers at Davos a few times as well, so they're connected. But there's somebody that I want to point out. And for some reason, my slide is missing again. I think my program is deleting my slides because I lost a slide last week too. And I know I put it on here. Yeah. Oh, well. But one of the guys on the ARC board is a guy by the name of Vivek Ramaswamy. Now, this is a dude that I don't know if people have heard of before, but he announced his run for presidency for this year. Now, Vivek is somebody who he kind of came out of nowhere, just out of nowhere, and became like the poster child for conservative conservatism. Wow, I really cannot say some of these words, guys. But he came out of nowhere, and he's heavily pushing conservative narratives like anti-ESG, DEI. He speaks out all the time against China and all that stuff. But do we really know who this guy is? Because I'm seeing a lot of conservatives that are liking what this guy has to say. So I did a little background check on Vivek here. And first thing I found is he was scrubbed from the class of 2021 Young Global Leaders graduate list. He was scrubbed from it. So if you go to the website and you check it out now, he's not there under the scrubbed category. But yet, if you go back in the archives, you go back in the Wayback Machine and you take a look at the original, there he is. So they intentionally scrubbed him from the graduate list. We know there's a bunch of other people that have been scrubbed too. Putin is one of them. Elon Musk is another. Those guys have also been scrubbed from the list. It's kind of curious how these people just disappear like that. So he's a young global leader. He graduated from 2021. He's also in a long-standing relationship with the Soros group, as he's connected to George's brother, Paul. If you didn't know, George has a brother. Well, had a brother. He actually died in 2015. But Vivek was connected, or is connected, to the Soros family as well. That's not good. So we got a young global leader connected to Soros. But this dude's supposed to be a walking billboard for conservatives. Interesting. He's also spoken out, like I said, about China and the WEF and BlackRock and all this stuff. So he spoke out in an interview where he was slamming the WEF and BlackRock, but also in the same interview, he stated that he wants BlackRock as a shareholder if his big pharma company went public. So he's blasting them, but saying he wants their money as well, talking out two sides of his face. And then, like I said, we talked about China. He's always talking about how horrific China is, and the U.S. needs to completely back away from China, not be involved with China in any way. But yet, he says all that stuff, but his company teams up with China all the time. Vivek Ramaswamy and his launched his Beijing-based biotech player. This morning, Roivant, that's his pharma company, unveiled Sinovant along with CPT, whatever, a Chinese private equity group. So he's teaming up with China. And then you can see his list of subsidiaries for Roivant Sciences. You can see a couple of China groups right there. So he says one thing publicly, but he's doing something behind the scenes. Now, speaking of big pharma, check that out. Roivant, that's his pharmaceutical company, has teamed up with Pfizer. Yep, he works with Pfizer. His company works with Pfizer. Interesting how that works, right? Not to mention, his spin-out group from Roivant called Datavant was looking to create a universal COOF record database. Roivant spin-out Datavant merges with Seox to form 7 billion health data giants. Datavant and the Seox Health have agreed to a merger that will create what they claim to be the largest health data company operating in the U.S. market. Datavant boots up big COOF registry, looking to shine a light on it. He wants a giant registry for those with COOF and the vitamin and all of that. Yeah, so that's just some of the stuff I found on this guy. So this is what I'm talking about with, don't just listen to the words that these people are saying. Don't just focus in and hone in on things that they say that you like. You have to look at who these people are associated with. You have to look at the people they surround themselves with. You have to look at what their businesses, their companies, their groups, whatever they're a part of, what they're connected to. Because these people will reveal themselves. They will reveal themselves. You just have to be willing. I know it's hard sometimes, but you just have to be willing to let go of people that you thought were who you thought they were. And again, I know that's hard sometimes. But we need to hold on to truth more than just what we want and what we've told ourselves about certain people. So I know, again, this dude has no chance. He has no chance to do it. We know that. But it's just a display of, we got to be careful about who we align ourselves with, who we believe in this stuff. We got to pull masks off of these people. We got to understand who these people truly are. Sometimes it's more subtle than not. But this is part of the game. Don't be fooled by the words that they say that match your beliefs. Deception is running much deeper than ever. And we're seeing that right now. We're seeing a lot of people be fooled by faces and names that they were told to like. We got to be careful. People in power and with wealth are looking out for one person. And when these people align themselves, and who these people align themselves with, speak volumes. You look at Jordan Peterson, again, part of the CAA. He's talked about how he doesn't want anybody who's online to have any ounce of being anonymous. Everybody needs to verify who they are in order to be online. And this ARC group that he supposedly created to be the anti-WEF is filled with nothing but people from the WEF. Controlled opposition, playing a narrative, running theater. We got to be careful. We got to be careful. That's why I talk about don't get wrapped up in the political game. Especially since we know how this ends. We know what's coming. Now, that doesn't mean lay down and die, go sit in a corner and do nothing. That's not what I'm saying. We got to stand for righteousness, but we got to stand for righteousness that we know is going to, it's worth it. You look at the kids. That's one of the main ones. You look at the kids. Stand for the kids. Stand for the gospel. It's just right now, Satan's got a grip on, if Satan's got a grip on the church, you know he's got a grip on anybody in power and political power. And these people are being pulled and manipulated, given scripts, being told what to do. These people aren't stupid. That's one of the biggest things is people keep asking, why do they keep making these stupid decisions? Why are they that stupid? They're not stupid. Because if you put away logic, which I know is sometimes hard to do, if you just put away logic and you try and think in the avenue of what they're trying to bring forth and accomplish, it's anything but stupid. It just makes perfect sense. We're just looking at things logically, and so it doesn't make sense when we do that. But we have to look at what they're trying to accomplish, and everything makes sense. All of it. Even the decisions that people think Biden is making, which he's not. He's just the puppet. But those aren't stupid decisions either. It's just playing exactly how they need them to be played. So yeah, I think it's important that we understand deception is huge right now. That's why Matthew 24, he starts it off with saying, do not be deceived. Because we're going to see deception like we've never seen before. And we know with reprobate minds and the great deception that the Lord's going to bring down, it's only going to get worse from here. That's why it's important that we focus on Scripture. We focus on the Bible. Because in this world where there's narrative and theater and deception on under every rock, around every corner, we don't know what to believe. The only thing that we can hold true and know for a fact is the Bible. That's truth. It will never not be true. It is always true, no matter what. And so we can hang on to that. That's why we hold on to that. That's why we focus on that. And it's the living Word of God. It's the living Word of God because God is truth. Jesus Christ is truth. And that's why we need to focus on him. That's why we, as watchmen, we do focus on him. Because he's all that we have. And he's given us the promise that when all of this stuff reaches that climactic point, that we're not going to be here. He gives us that. And the Bible tells us that, which makes it truth. Which makes it true. That's why we can hold on to it. That he's going to take us out of here before this stuff really starts to ramp up. We're seeing it ramp up now. But we can't even begin to imagine what's going to happen on the other side of that rapture. And so, if you're watching this and you just stumble upon it, you're one of those tinfoil hat people, but you don't know the Lord, it's important to understand that promise, the blessed hope, is that he's going to snatch us away. He's going to rapture us away before all of this bad stuff is fully unleashed upon this earth. So if you don't know the Lord, now is the best time to get to him. And just like we were talking about with truth, Jesus is truth. He tells us he gives us the way out through him in such a simple way where all we have to do is believe and trust in him. And it's as simple as ABC. It's a childlike faith, childlike trust in him and what he did for us. And it starts with A, where you admit that you're a sinner. You come to the Lord with a repentant heart. You know you messed up. You know you need him as a savior. You fall short. You admit that. That's the first step. In order to believe in a savior, you have to first understand that you fall short and need one. And so, after you admit that, you believe in Jesus Christ. You believe with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength that Jesus Christ is the one and only Son of God, that he came down to this earth, 100% man, 100% God, died on the cross after living a sinless and perfect life, and then he rose again on the third day, defeating death for you, for me, for everybody who chooses to believe in him. Now, this is not something where you just know the story and repeat a prayer and then go about your daily life. No, this is something between you and the Lord, whether you truly believe in him. And if you do, then you will call upon the Lord. You will ask the Lord, Lord God, come into my life and save me. I believe that you died and rose again for me. Come into my life and save me, Lord Jesus. And if you do that, if you truly believe, welcome to the family of God. And you're going to get to skip that and what comes with it, which is absolute hell on earth. And he's going to take us away. He's going to snatch us away before all of that is unleashed. And I don't know about you guys, but I am so thankful and I'm so ready to leave this rock and get up into the clouds and look at my Lord. I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready. I'm ready for that. So, all right, guys, that's it. That's all I got. Who are you people? Seriously, who are you people? No. Glad you guys could be here, though. Glad you guys could join me. I'm so thankful for all of you. I'll tell you what. I know times are getting hard. I know times are getting crazy. We're seeing a lot of things happen, but guys, hang on to that blessed hope. The worse the world gets, the closer we are to going home. We need to hang on to that. We need to encourage each other with that. Don't get down. Don't fall into the fear-mongering, doom and gloom type of stuff. Stay focused on the Lord. And he tells us, as these things come to pass, look up, because he's coming. Yeah. So yeah, I'll leave you guys here. That's going to be it. Looks like we got off, or we finished about in time, so that's good. But yeah, so usual spiel, like, share, subscribe. If you guys can, share this out, get it to as many people as you can. It's not about views, it's not about butts and seats, but it is about getting the warning out, getting the people to Jesus and Jesus to people. That's why we do this, and so liking, sharing, and subscribing definitely helps with that. So if you guys can, do that. Also, follow me, Rumble, Odyssey, Telegram. Like I said, when YouTube kicks me off, those are my backup channels. We discovered that many of you are not following me there, so hopefully you are now. And if you're not, make sure you do, because I will communicate with you on Rumble and or on Telegram, and we'll be streaming on Rumble. That's how that will work. Hopefully we don't get kicked off, but I have a feeling it's going to happen again. It's just how it goes. But yeah, so follow me there. Also, if you guys, if the Lord places it upon your heart and you would like to support this ministry, I got donation links down below: CashApp, Venmo, Give, Send, Go. I certainly appreciate your guys' support more than you know. I'm so thankful for all of you. I truly am. Also, prayers is also accepted. Definitely. I definitely accept your guys' prayers, because that is the biggest support you guys can give me. So thank you for that. And I'll be on live clips on Friday, 6 p.m. Central. I'll put that link in the Telegram when that comes around. And I think that's it. So, all right, I'll leave you guys here. You guys have a great night. And if the Lord has not come by by Saturday, same time, same place, I will meet you guys back here. Peace out. Maranatha.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.